So let's take a little bit of time now to talk about some of the things that we've talked about earlier, what we see on the periodic table, especially in regards to the atomic number and the atomic mass. So, going back to kind of just to review, we'll take a look at carbon. So if we remember, we go look on the periodic table. We've got 12.0111, big C, 6, carbon. And when we look at this, we remember that this bottom number is the atomic number. And the top number is the atomic mass. And so, I want to spend a little bit more time talking about this idea of mass. And so when we look at this, and we see, okay, so the atomic mass of carbon is equal to 12.0111. So we look at that number and what does that tell us? And so what that tells us, there are a couple things actually. So first, one of the things we notice is that it's not a whole number. There's pretty much every element on the periodic table. You're going to see some sort of fraction, or basically a decimal following it. And what we're going to talk, and so what we can talk about later though, is how this reflects what we see across all of nature, and it's essentially a reflection of that. So, but for the most part, you see that it's pretty close to 12. And when we're talking about these atomic masses, there are actually kind of two units that we end up using. When we're talking molar mass, you'll see the units that you'll see for that are grams per mole. And that means that 1 mole of carbon, if you put it on a balance, you'll see that it'll have a mass of 12.0111 grams. And so that's one type of unit that we see. But another type of unit that we see and that we talk about also is the AMU. And this is the atomic mass unit. And what this tells us, or kind of the way that we think about this construct, is that the atomic mass unit is the mass of 1 proton, which is essentially the same as the mass of 1 neutron. Neutrons are a tiny, tiny bit higher, but for all intents and purposes, protons and neutrons pretty much have the same mass. And so, remember, the atomic number is what defines that element. And is also the number of protons. So carbon will always have 6 protons. So it then just becomes a question of how many neutrons are there in the nucleus of carbon? And so, if we were to say that there are 6 neutrons, we can then see 6 protons gives us 6 AMU, and 6 neutrons gives us 6 AMU. So carbon atom with 6 protons and 6 neutrons adds up to 12 AMU. So you would say that the atomic mass of that specific carbon atom, 12. So this 12 we see is just about the same as that atomic mass, 12.011. So this will then lead us into talking a little bit about isotopes.